Before the arenas, before the awards.
This is b4Nashville Live. Have a question for our guest?
Send it to us via Messenger.
Here's your host, George Davis.
And welcome back to Before Nashville. It is another Monday night edition after a very long weekend. For those of you who watch regularly, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I'm being joined by a young lady who hails from not too far from us. She is originally from Southern Indiana, and I actually found her via the all-famous TikTok. Hopefully other people will find her as well, and we can get her going on the right path here before long. But please welcome to Before Nashville. This is Kenna Elpers. Hi, Kenna.
Hello. How you doing?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain. Loving every minute.
Oh, man, I tell you, it's been quite the weekend. We were talking earlier. You said you were kind of busy this weekend. You're actually singing at a rodeo, right?
I was, yeah. I sang at the River City Rodeo in Southern Indiana.
Is that something you've done before? Is that the first time?
No, that was actually my first time doing it. It's a rodeo that benefits veterans with PTSD and providing service dogs and things as such like that. And I played right before Sean Stemley, and it was so much fun. So many people came out, and it was great to be back home and see everybody.
Right. Well, that's awesome. And you grew up in Southern Indiana. You migrated south.
Yes.
But unlike the birds, you didn't migrate back north again.
So, I did not.
You're down just outside of Nashville right now. Tell me a little bit about the early years of growing up. You were kind of a musical inclined child, started off singing at an early age. What influences did you have when you were younger growing up?
So growing up, I always loved listening to music, and I always was drawn to it. And I loved, watching the award shows and going to concerts. But whenever I started creating my own music, I was pretty young. I think I was around the age of about 11, 12 when I decided I wanted to do it, about 13 when I started writing my own stuff. And I really influenced in two separate ways. One with the writing side, I always loved listening to storytellers such as Dolly Parton, Chris Stapleton, that kind of style of country music and that just storytelling environment. And then as far as performing goes, I always really lean more towards the sides of, I loved the Judds, and I loved Stevie Nicks, and I loved Janis Joplin. And I loved anything I could get my hands on in the music realm. And I think that just really influenced me to mash all that together and try to create my own self as an artist.
Absolutely. Now, as you were growing up, I mean, were you in school when you were doing the music thing? Did you have friends that were kind of like, okay, or, oh my gosh, you're a rock star, or all this kind of stuff? How did that kind of go?
I'm still in school. I'm in college here in Tennessee, but I went through high school, middle school, all that doing music. And my friends are always so supportive, in my family. And it was funny because a lot of my friends tell me that when I was younger, like when I was in elementary school, I would tell them like, I'm going to be a country music singer. And, people just laugh because who's going to believe an 8 or 10-year-old saying I'm going to be a country music singer? But as time progressed, I really got serious about it. And when I was about a freshman in high school, that's when things took off. So I did full-time school, full-time music, and it was like a sport. I worked really hard and kept pushing.
So you didn't really get involved much in sports when you were in school?
Not in high school. I did do sports. I tried about every sport there was, but my coordination really didn't allow me to do that. I played soccer up until my freshman year from when I was in preschool. And then I played softball up until I think 7th or 8th grade. And I tried everything, but music was my dream. It was my heart.
Right. A lot of artists, I mean, a lot that I've talked to, there's a correlation between sports and music for some reason. I'm not quite sure what it is, but you have a lot of the guys that, something's happened in college. They've torn something or something else happened. So they picked music as a second because they thought they were going to be baseball stars.
I was talking to somebody about that the other day because I was like, is it weird to you how almost half of country music right now on the charts was wanted to be an MLB player, and now they're country music singers? But hey, I mean, I can't complain. I love their music.
Right.
So,
The funny thing is they either want to be or the girls that some of the girls that are in country music have married MLB players at one time.
no, I'm kidding. Okay. No, it's true. I was never one for sports. Well, my brothers were. My brothers, I have two brothers, a twin brother and an older brother, and they were very much they were the athletes of the family. Our whole family was athletes. I'm the only singer to come out of it. So it's so funny because I'm the least coordinated out of all of us as well, I believe. I tried though, but I think one too many sprained ankles, and my parents were like, "You sure? You sure you want to keep playing?"
You were kind of the black sheep of the family, right?
No, really. Like they all were. We had, we had D1 basketball players, track stars, and then there was me. Like she can't run, but she can sing, so that'll make up for it.
They introduce you. This is our son, the track star. This is our son, the basketball player. This is our daughter. She sings.
No, really.
What's up with that? They love music as much as they love sports. I mean, come on, you can love it all.
They do though. They've like grown to love it. My family loves it so much, and it's something different for all of us to enjoy.
Right. When I was doing some viewing of different things that you had done, and I noticed in one of the interviews you talked about, and I have to say this because I thought it was kind of funny, and then I just realized I understand now why you said that, because you were talking about being in southern Indiana. Now you're not close to Ohio,
No.
but you said Cynthiana, and I thought you were talking about because the town was close to Cincinnati. Don't ask me why.
No, that's my hometown's name, Cynthiana, Indiana.
Right. That'd be hard to say as a tongue twister, wouldn't you? You couldn't do it 10 times fast.
People laugh when I say it to this day. They're like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Cynthiana, Indiana," and they're like, "Cynthia, what?" Like it rhymes. It rhymes, people.
It was a songwriter that came up with a name for it. All right, come on.
They had to have. I'm telling you, they had to have, because no way that just came about.
So, what was it like growing up in the household with your two brothers? Were you kind of the little sister? Okay, let me ask you this first. Out of the twins, are you the younger or the older?
I'm the youngest. He's a minute older than me.
Okay, so you're the baby sister.
Mm-hmm.
Were they protective or were they butt heads?
A mix of both. When we were younger, oh gosh, we fought all the time. And I know my mom wanted to pull her hair out. I know she did, but we fought all the time. And my older brother, he's about 5 years. There's a 5-year age gap. So he kind of he was that big brother role, But my twin brother and I, we go back and forth. We still do to this day, but it's more of like just joking, I think. I like to think so. But, once I got older and I started seeing the world a little bit more and things, they really did become protective. The older brother, like more so than the twin, but the twin is secretly, like he's secretly protective. When things go wrong though, he's right there. He's ready to go. So we grew up in my family, we all grew up in a very tight household. We all are very close with each other. And it's something I'm very thankful for. So no matter how much those boys can be little meanie heads, they are my best friends. I wouldn't trade them for the world. They are the best brothers a girl could have, I swear.
That's awesome. So what do they think of the career choice that you've made?
So I like to think they think it's cool. My twin brother, so for the longest time, the best question I get asked is, does Caleb sing? Like, does your twin brother sing? And I told him, I'm like, we could be Donnie and Marie. And he's like, no, you got to give up that dream real quick. Because they're again, not musically inclined, but, they're so supportive of it. I mean, there were times where, my parents, we had to go away for like a weekend, and they'd constantly call and ask how things were, or even to this day, they call me to check in, and they share my stuff. My twin brother, he and I shared a wall when we were younger. So eventually he got used to me singing at 2:00 in the morning, but they're so supportive, and they always have been.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So you're a songwriter as well as a singer, which there's, shocker, a lot of those in Nashville that are singer-songwriters.
Right.
But I've been listening to your music and listened to a lot of it lately, trying to get ready for tonight. And you've got kind of, especially the newest song, which we're going to talk about and play here in just a little bit. But your production, I'll say it that way, the music side of it, is a lot of, to me, Jason Aldean influenced, or kind of that country
Mhm.
rock influence.
Right.
Is that intentional?
So actually, it really wasn't for the longest time. And actually, some of my older songs I'm about to take off line just because I was 14, whatever. I was trying to fit the mold, but somewhere
Mhm.
along the line, I always loved listening to rock music. And one day, that's just what I started. It just started clicking, and it was working with my voice and what I was wanting. I wanted that strong lyrics, but I also wanted that just like raw, like rough energy. And these past couple songs definitely do highlight that. And it is something that I want to continue pursuing further because it's just fun. I love rock music. I mean, I grew up with that as well. So it now has slowly started to become intentional, but in the beginning it definitely wasn't. It just kind of happened that way. And I would take it into my the producer I work with, and I'd be like, hey, like I need you to make this, like I want to rock. And he's like, okay. He always laughed because I'm walking in and he doesn't expect that. And then I just like, I want to rock. I want it heavy.
Uh, well, so with the music that you do, which I mean, I just, like I said, I like it. I think it sounds really good, the newest song. And again, we're going to play that here in just a bit. Um, what, like the writing side of it, first off, what one song have you heard where you go, man, I wish I would have written that?
Oh, there's quite a few. My answer definitely changes a lot, but recently it's been Heart Like a Truck by Lainey Wilson.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wish I would have written that song. That is so clever. It is so beautiful, such a beautiful song. And I remember the first time I heard it, I literally, my mom and I were talking. She's like, God, that sounds like something you could have, like you would have written. And I was like, I wish I would have because she's killing it. Like it is such a beautiful song.
Yeah, that's one of my wife's favorites. She just loves Lainey Wilson. Doesn't
I
matter.
do too. I
Um,
I do influence my wardrobe a little bit off her. I'm not gonna lie.
I was going to ask you about that because I've seen a couple of um, I'm not trying to. I've seen like some of your outfits and stuff, and
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
those
well,
are me.
it's funny
And,
'cause I started wearing bell bottoms, like, when I was 14 years old. Like, I was wearing them early on, and, like, that whole was my style, and then I drifted it away from it to try to fix, and then I saw her do it again, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going back to it." I'm like, "I'm going back to my style then. If others can do it, so can I," type deal. And so I was in my head, I like to believe, "Oh, I was cool with bell bottoms before bell bottoms were, like, cool again." But that's not the case, but I like to believe that.
kind of like Barbara Mantrell, country before country was
Was it
cool.
cool? Yeah, country before country was cool. Literally, that is exactly how I feel about bell bottoms.
Yeah, and it's so funny because Lainey gets accredited with a lot of that, and I think people don't realize there are a lot of artists that did that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, she made it look really cool though. I'm not gonna
right?
lie.
She
I want
does.
her whole wardrobe. I want her hats too. I've got a full hat wall over here on the side of my room. And it's just covered that I've just been keeping throughout. And I'm like, I want some of hers too, though.
She's got some really cool ones.
Yeah,
My
she
wife loves it.
does. She
Like I said,
does.
my wife is, she hasn't turned to the bell bottom thing yet, but the hats she's into. She can do the hats.
Yeah, I always said like I always loved the 70s. Like that's when I say I believe I was born in the wrong direction because long generation because I
Mhm.
love the 70s like style. And so I used to always base it off that. But when Lainey Wilson did it, I was like, all right, I'm going back. Not giving that up again.
Now, I'm speaking of going back because I want to go back a little bit. You auditioned for The Voice, and that was at the time around COVID,
Right. So that was both. Yeah, that one was around COVID, like right when it hit, right before and right when it hit.
and you got cut early because they had to cut a bunch of people out of it, which really
Mhm.
stunk because at that point it was just everything was going good, and then COVID hit and shut the world down.
It did.
And then after that, you went on to American Idol and you auditioned there, and I think you got as far with that as the televised auditions.
Yes, I did.
And But you didn't make it because of Luke and Katie, but Lionel said something to you
Yes,
that
he did.
kind of changed your thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
he did.
prior to that, what was your, because it was about your songwriting, what was your focus of songwriting at that time? Were you still in the country genre? Were you kind of going a different direction or something, or what was that?
So I've always been in the country genre,
Okay.
but I think prior to that, I was 16, I was 17 whenever I auditioned for that. So prior to that, I had been writing songs for what I thought other people wanted to hear. So I was writing the stereotypical country songs, like
Mhm.
what I heard, what I thought. Um, and I did that because in my head, and I was young, and in my head, I thought, oh, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to do to please others, to get my music out there. But once that audition happened, I was standing in a room and with three icons standing in a room, and I had sang. They had me do a cover, then they had me do an original. And when I did the original, Lionel had told me, like, he's like, there's something very interesting, not only about the twang in your voice and the way you can control your voice at such a young age. He said, but there's also something interesting about your writing. But then he kind of went on to say, he kind of told me, like, keep doing that every single day, but do it more for you. And when he told me that, it took me a while to really like hear those words and listen, because again, I was young and I didn't know how to take. I knew how to take criticism, but I didn't know how to take it to that level. Like, you have
Right.
Lionel Richie sitting in front. He gave me a yes, but he was just like sitting right in front of me, telling me, like, keep doing it for you. And when I heard those words now, that's kind of changed my perspective of, oh, I can still write to connect with people, but I can write it for me. Now I write songs for me, for my experiences, for what I want to convey. No longer what I think people need to hear, it's what I want people to hear.
Right. Right. That's one of the things about the country genre that is so um, grassroots, is the best way I know how to put it, to me, is that when you get to that point of you're doing it from your own experience and you're sharing, then that way you touch more people that way, because out there everybody has had the exact same experience you've had somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it could be that, my next door neighbor hears one of your songs and we've been talking and things are just kind of, going blah. And they say, hey, you need to check out Kenna and this is her song, that kind of thing. So people will start listening and it'll come around, kind of a fan from a fan type of thing.
Right.
But I, I remember hearing, I've worked in radio for the last 40 years. And I remember hearing one time where somebody said, um, you know, if you're writing for all these people writing for the radio or writing for the wrong reason,
Right.
because what people hear on the radio needs to be what they're feeling every day, as opposed to what, and no offense to any songwriters, Shane McAnally or any of those guys, they're amazing songwriters, Lori McKenna and all them, but you have to write to where people are.
Right.
And so I think that's starting, that finally, and I think they knew it all along, but I still think, some of these artists are like writing, oh, well, let's do a bro country song because that's
Mm-hmm.
popular now. No, don't
Oh
do
yeah.
that. What people are looking for,
Oh yeah.
and that's what they're looking for now. They want originality. They don't want cookie cutter.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. I was in, earlier in my career, I would go into certain rides whenever I started collabing with people. And I had a couple of those rides where people would be like, oh, let's write, somebody would be like, oh, let's write a song that sounds like Shania Twain. I'm just giving an example. And I'm like, can we not write a song that sounds like, because we would be writing it for me specifically at this time. And I'm like, can we not write a song that sounds like Kenna Elpers? Can we not write a song that fits for me that I can convey to other people? Because I feel like sometimes we try to conform ourselves to one idea and we run with it. And that's why I think sometimes country music at one point, country music got heat for just simply talking about, the stereotypical things. Whereas now I've seen country music evolve into something that I don't think a lot of people thought it would be. I hear songs that are raw and real. And when you hear those, people are way more likely to sit down and really listen and stream those songs consistently. And that's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to go outside of that cookie cutter while also, sticking to that fun country roots that you do hear on the radio, while also never letting that diminish my storytelling.
Right. And I mean, the whole thing is just, it to me, like I said, people are wanting more real
Mm-hmm.
than that stuff. So I think, I think that's really cool. Now, when are you most creative? Because I heard you talking about this on an interview, but what time of the day do you feel like you're most creative?
Oh, I mean, so sometimes songs stand outward, but I don't get a lot of sleep at night because I feel I'm the most creative late at night in silence, either really early or really late at night. Simply because at least that's how I've been like the past couple of years. Originally just kind of whenever it hit me, like I just found creativity and bam. And sometimes I do have to force myself to do that during the day if I want a good 8 hours rest. But a lot of the times it's like I'll be sleeping and I will wake up and that creativity will just strike. And I'll be like, really? Yeah, I had to do it at 3 a.m. Couldn't have written this song at 7 p.m. last night. But I feel like really it is during my dreaming hours. Like I write songs a lot late at night because it's quiet. I can think. I don't hear all the other voices or the other things in my head popping around. Don't hear things outside. It's peaceful.
The other voices.
The other voices in my head. I have way too many conversations with them up there.
That's when I do all of my co-writes is with
No,
my head.
really. I'm like, what does that work? Do you think that works? It sounds weird, but it's true.
When you give the writer credits, there's like 4 of you and nobody understands why.
Yeah. They're like, I thought you said you wrote this by yourself. I did, but that's not the point. It's what's up here.
Oh, that is good. What do you feel like what benefit from songwriting have you received yourself? Because let's set the scenario. You left home, you went to college in Tennessee, from Indiana. It's not a long drive,
No.
but it's not like being there either.
Right.
So what kind of, how did your songwriting help you get through some of those days where it's like, I really need to go home type
Really
of thing?
Oh, that happened a lot. Especially, it was weird because it's only about a 3.5 hour drive from where I'm at to going home. And I do see my family a lot. But when I first moved down here, I was like, and I was so excited. I was eager. I was like, so I was writing songs about, chasing dreams and doing this and doing that. And I was writing consistently. And then about my homesickness really hit about 6 months in. I hadn't seen my family for almost 2 months at this point. And music was like, it was stagnant. And you have those moments, you have the hills and valleys, and you got that one layer that just won't seem to go away. And it was stagnant. And all I kept thinking was, gosh, I just need a hug from my mom. I just need to see my dad. I just need to talk to them. And you can always call them, which is nice. But it would be like these random moments where I'd feel homesick, and leaving them would be a lot harder. And that's where I started writing songs, just really expressing that. I mean, songwriting is therapy for me. It's like, it's therapy on a page, and you get to write whatever you feel, and you can share it if you want to, or you don't have to. And that really helped me get out what I needed to say. But it also helped to remind me of where I was. Sometimes I looked at old songs of what I was writing about, what I had been through, and you get to flip back to those memories and those nostalgic moments on a page. That really helped me get through that time period where I did feel like I felt like I was missing out on certain things. Instead of seeing my brother get engaged, I got a phone call. Instead of seeing, my little cousin in person, I saw her through a picture. So it was like those moments really were reflected into my songs at that time. I'm a little bit more used to it now, but it still never gets easier, you know. There's still
Right.
moments I leave home and I'm crying. I'm like, Mom, I miss you. She's like, you just pulled out of the driveway. Keep driving.
How do you even hit the brakes backing
Right.
out? Yeah, calm down.
Yeah, come on. You're gonna be fine. You can cross over the river, then we'll talk. Yeah.
Oh, so there's one song. I want to do this kind of a behind the songs with you type of deal.
Mhm.
There's one song that I listen to that's called "Stand on My Toes,"
Yeah.
and was that written? Did you write that at a time when you were missing your dad? You know, your family.
Actually, that song, so my senior year of high school, so it's almost 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, my I had found that picture. That's the cover photo for it of my
Hmm.
dad and I at a daddy, or it might have actually been a wedding. But it was like a daddy daughter dance, and I'm standing on his toes. And then my senior prom, we recreated that picture. And then, you know, my whole family, they've always been my backbone. They've been my support. And I was talking to a friend of mine in the car at the time, around the time I came up with that line, stand on my toes, and I was telling her about it. And I was like, isn't it so exciting to know that one day? She's like, I'm like, isn't it so exciting to know that one day maybe we'll get to like walk down the aisle? And I said, the only problem is I won't be able to stand on my dad's toes any longer. So we started talking about it. I wrote it down, put it away, didn't go back to it. And then it was about, I believe I wrote it it was probably last like December, January time when I wrote it. And I had wrote it just because I found that picture again and I remembered the title and I remembered the feeling I have with that conversation. And it just happened. It just happened. The song just came about and I wrote it really quick. Some songs take me a lot longer, but this one was just a really quick song because I knew exactly what I wanted to say.
Right. When they mean that much, see, that goes back to writing for yourself, but other people latching on to it, you know.
Mhm.
And I have two daughters. One of them's married, the other one's out of the house and not married yet. But you know, but then we have a granddaughter
Mhm.
and she's 5. And so it's like you think about that as an adult and as a young adult and even, you know, as you're going, like you say, through high school, you might run across it or run across it later in life, you know, those kind of things.
Mhm.
And they do mean a lot to you,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to imagine that, you know, the girls are, you know, one day gonna get married and they're gonna have a life of their own. And you know, I hope and pray that they always think that, you know, they, you know, never danced on my toes, but you know, there was a time where my oldest daughter and I, we did, you know, do some like she'd stand on my feet, not necessarily my
Yeah.
toes.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But the youngest one, she's my bonus daughter, so I still think of her as mine. But she was, you know, 10 years old by the time I pretty much came into her life, and so she was past that at that time. But like the granddaughter, you know, and things.
Mhm.
And as of right now, that's the only opportunity I'm going to get to have that because all the other grandkids are boys. Um,
They may not want to stand on grandpa's toes.
no, no, they'd probably rather get me out in the field and tackle me because I've got
Yeah.
a couple of them that are pretty good sized boys,
Yeah.
as young as they are. Um,
That's so funny.
but it just, I mean, I was listening to the song and I'm a sucker for a good song when it comes to the girls. I mean, when I can put my daughters in there and relate to
Mhm.
it, that's generally when I snotting all over myself and having to wipe my
Right.
sleeve because I can't do anything else, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, so when I was listening to that today and I was driving and I'm listening to it and I'm just like, dang, man, that's just so true, you know. It's you think about that and going through in the different stages of life. So that
Yeah.
song right there was really kind of a heart jerker. And then you've got one what is that? Back road riding? Is that the one
Oh,
you
dirt
did?
road riding?
Dirt road riding that you did the
Yeah.
video for.
Yeah.
Um, that one's just a party tune. You get
Right.
out there and you're thinking about it, and um, it just kind of it just is kind of a cool song, but it does take a little bit of a twist if I remember right, uh,
Yes, I believe so.
because you kind of a little bit of a walk away moment there
Yeah.
in the song.
Yep.
So and I did hear you say, and we're going to talk about this song here in a minute, and I wondered about that, but I heard you say in an interview that you don't do breakup songs very
Yeah.
often.
In in the begin yeah, that in the beginning I didn't do break now. Do I have them? Absolutely I do. But I try to piece them separately. I don't want all my songs to be that way.
Right.
Um, just because, I feel like that is something that's pretty stereotypical. As much as I
Right.
hate to, we all go through breakups, but I have a lot of them. I try not to release as many. When I was younger, that was a lot easier for me to say, but still,
As you
yeah.
go through life, more and more of that happens, and so it's more and more that you have to write songs about.
Yeah. I told somebody the other day, I was in a riot, and I was like, man, I don't want to write another breakup song, but man, this has been bothering me. So we're going to go ahead and write it down. Oh, yeah. That's some high quality inspiration right there.
Right. So the songwriting is very therapeutic when you get
Yeah.
in those situations or even happy situations. That's the key to songwriting is the therapy of it. Do you agree?
100%. Any emotion. Like, that's the best part about the job. You get to convey every single emotion and let other
Mm.
people relate to it. 100%.
Right. What has been your biggest challenge with trying to market your music and yourself?
I really feel like the marketing aspect, there's so many people with social media now, on social media. And I mean, there could be somebody who is just like me,
Hmm.
probably 3 states away, and I don't know it. And the marketing aspect is really the wide variety that is there on social media, and the algorithms and the science behind it, the science behind these apps to get your names out there, and what is now considered like the highest qualifications. You have to have this many followers. You have to have this many views a week, this many posts a week, and like things like that. I think that has really been the hardest part, is trying to navigate that, because I gig all the time, and I do push my music to the amount as which I can. I market myself outside of social media as well. But it's really a challenge to really get in there and to get people to see you and to hear you. And it's one swipe. I mean, if you don't have somebody by the first 0.2 seconds, they're swiping. I do it. When I'm on TikTok and I'm scrolling quick. I don't sit and watch every single video to its entirety. So it's finding and creating that content to market my music in the best way possible. That's the most challenging part of it so far.
Right. Excuse me. Um, if if you could now, if you could collaborate with another writer on a song,
Mhm.
who would you want to collab with the most?
When you say writer, can it be like a singer-songwriter as well, like an artist specifically?
Yeah,
Or
there's kind of a two-part question. One is the singer, the songwriter part, one's a performer, but
oh,
you
perfect.
combine.
Yeah, I've got two separate for both. But songwriting wise, I talked about him earlier. I love Chris Stapleton.
Hmm.
And I mean, when I really dug deep into some of his music from like his early stuff, and like the way he crafted his songs, because he writes, most of his songs,
Right.
um, it's it's just incredible to like hear his storytelling aspect. I think his hook lines he comes up with are impressive, and I would love to pick his brain on how he comes up with those, because they are
Yeah.
all like letters to a specific point in his life, and I would love to sit down and just write with him once. Give me 30 minutes of your time, man. We may not be able to write a song, but we can at least come up with one line.
Right.
Right?
That's good enough. You'll take that. What
Right.
about on the? I mean, is that kind of the answer for both the singer songwriter performance or
No,
collaboration? Or,
I think if there was somebody that I could like perform with and like sing a song with, I could say this table like I love Dolly Parton, Queen of Country Music, but somebody I would love to perform with right now that is just her performing levels have, I always thought she was amazing, but now she's amped to be more as Carrie Underwood. The way she has put on her recent tour, I didn't get to go, unfortunately, but I did see clips, and wow. Like, she puts on a performance. She is moving nonstop, and it would be so fun to do that. I would love to sit up on a stage and sing a song with her, and I'll jump around with her too. I'm not a dancer. I call myself a jumper because I'm not really a dancer, but I would do that in a heartbeat. Her performing levels are 10 out of 10.
Yeah, she amazed me when she this go around on her tours. She came out with the drums on stage and was doing the solos, and I'm like, where in the world did she learn that at?
Oh, it's incredible. That, and then now the one part I'd probably not take part in is Hanging from the Sky, but but I could try. I mean, I wouldn't look graceful, but I could definitely sit in one of them circles if I needed the hula hoops if I needed to. But yeah, she definitely the performance.
She brings a lot of Las Vegas to her entire show, after doing all the residencies. I lost the word for a second.
Right.
Let's I tell you what, let's go ahead. Your song. This is the song that drew me to you on TikTok one day. As I'm scrolling through. See, I didn't just stay there 0.2 seconds for you.
Thank you.
Listen to the song. So
I appreciate that.
And I think a lot of people will too. Once they hear it, they can really check it out. I think it's a great song. I like the production and everything about it. I'm not a music critic. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a producer, but I like the production and the lyrics and everything. It sounds really good. So we're going to do, this is Kenna's song, and it's called Whiskeyed Me Away. All right. So, and we'll come back and talk about the backstory on that here in just a minute.
Try to drown it all out. You must be hurting now. Since you escaped me with one drink, turned it to time when next thing I knew, a year was gone. That same song was on. And now we're broken. All the shots you're taking, tripping out, my heart is killing me. All these memories, your cold-hearted bliss is something I can't love. I try to stay. You whiskeyed me away. Since you whiskeyed me away, one drink turned to two. Time went next. Thing I knew you was gone. That same song was on. Now we're broken. All the shots you're taking, tripping. Now my heart is killing me. All these memories. Your cold-hearted buzz is something I can't love. I try to stay. You whiskeyed me away. Oh, whiskeyed me away.
All right, that was Kenna Elpers and Whiskeyed Me Away. And that song, like when I the first time I saw it, there was kind of a video that went with it. And I think you did the video fairly quickly with the song, maybe like right afterwards, maybe.
The video released the next day. The
Okay.
music video did. It released the next day after I had released the song on Friday. The video came out on Saturday.
All right. And that's what kind of, I kind of was drawn to that a little bit, but I thought, I'm going to listen to the whole song. And so I started listening to it. And I'm like, dadgum, that's pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I mean, you got that gritty voice, and that's one of those things. It's kind of that, like the Janis Joplin kind of, but I could see you just rocking and stomping and having a good time with that song, on stage.
Oh, it's so much fun to play live. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
So when you play live, do you have a full band behind you most of the time or all the time, or you just do solo mostly?
Most of the time there is a full band, but I do acoustic shows a lot as well. So it's kind of half and half. But anytime I have a big show, it's usually with a band.
Okay. And I mean, where did you record that at?
I actually recorded it at an independent producer's studio here in Nashville.
Okay.
Just this producer has his own studio in the downstairs of his house, and he kills it. So
yeah. That's what I was going to say. The production on it is very good, and for it to be independent, that and not knocking him. I mean, I don't want to take anything away, because independent producers, quite honestly, are just as good as independent songwriters and singers. So
yeah.
But sometimes you can find them that really don't need to be calling themselves anything. But
Right. Yeah, he did a great job. And actually, this song, we originally recorded it not this past March, but the March prior. We recorded it the same day I recorded Stand on My Toes.
okay.
And I did not want to release it because at the time I was 18, about to be 19, I believe. And I was like, I don't know if I should be putting out a song about whiskey. And so I was like, I'm just going to hold on to it. And I almost thought about pitching it to another artist, but then I decided to keep it for myself, and we revamped it and completely redid it.
I'm really shocked by that statement, because this is the reason I say that. Okay. Don't take it the wrong way, because it's your song. Of course you're going to freaking nail it. But I could hear that song being pitched to an artist and them going, oh yeah, we're going for that one.
Yeah. No, that was the case. Like it was one of those things where it was like I held on to it for so long, and I almost pitched it, and then there were certain things that I would have had to change for radio purposes and yada yada. And
yeah,
I kept thinking about it, and it was weird because it was like I played it live. I sent a demo of it to my band, and I was like, let's play it live and check the audience's reaction. And people loved it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep it for myself. And I played the demo for a few really tight-knit. I have a group of people in my circle that I play my beginning stage songs to, because they're going to be honest with me. They'll say they hate it or they say they like it. And those are the people that I go to in those times. And that was when they're like, you got to keep it for yourself, girl. Like, you got to. They're like, we could see other people singing it, but you got to keep it for yourself. And so I did, and I'm happy I did because it's turned into something that I'm extremely proud of, a project that I love.
Right. I didn't, and normally I do this, and I failed to do it on that one simply because I just thought it was um, such a good song. I didn't even take time to check the stats on it. You know, I got distracted is the word I'm trying to use here. Okay, let me get that out. Um, you released that song. You said in March,
I released that song in April, the
April.
day before my birthday. Yeah.
Okay, so it's been out roughly a month.
Yeah, almost a month, I believe.
7,500 downloads on Spotify or streams on Spotify. Let me get that correct. Uh,
Hmm.
and I just give the Spotify numbers because I don't have all the analytics stuff, and you can't have that unless you're the artist. So, you know,
Right.
don't get mad at me because I don't have that information. But 7,500 streams, which
Mhm.
are different than downloads. So, you know,
Right.
they do include them in there, but they don't specify which is which. It's
Right.
not shabby for a song that's a month old.
Right. Definitely. It started off. I was so when I put out songs that I wrote this song 10 minutes before a show. And it's a funny story because I wrote it 10 minutes before a show. Somebody had said something at the bar. It clicked. I sat on the floor and I wrote this song. And then I went back and edited a few lines that I didn't like and changed the tempo and whatnot. But wrote this song. And when I write songs solely by myself and I put them out, when it's just solely written by me, I am
Mhm.
10 times more nervous than I am when I know it's like a collab type of song. And so when I put this song out, it's like it started off really slow. And then about 2 weeks afterwards, it finally started like picking up. Like recently it started picking up because I was so nervous. I was like, these numbers, I need them to go up. I need them to go up because that's just the um, pushing me. That's just my drive, the way I feel. I'm like, come on, get there. And it's starting to finally, which makes me feel really good because it was a song that I solely wrote on my own.
Right. Now you teased it on TikTok before
I
you put the
did.
song out, asking
Mhm.
people, you know, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts? And I never really, of course, those analytics you don't have, I don't think as much. I mean, I think you can check and see how many views or something like
Yeah,
that, you know, on one particular TikTok. I guess that's what it's called, TikTok. I
yeah,
started saying real, but that's not right.
yeah.
Um, but it's really I know when it first came out and it popped up on my feed, I was like, you know, I'm constantly looking at social media trying to find new artists. You know, so that one new artist that just catches my ear that goes, I got to interview them because I really like their music and stuff. And then that one popped up, and I caught myself going back to that reel like 5 or 6, 7 times uh, because it gave me just enough of the hook that I wanted to go ahead and listen to the rest. And then there was some of the video, you know. I
Yeah,
think the first one or two was just you in a vehicle and you're like, you know, pushing out the hook of it, and then it came
right,
back with the video.
right.
And once I saw the video, I've watched it like 4 or 5 times. And just I mean, it's just, to me, the song it's just a really good example. And now that I hear, you know, how you wrote it, it's a great example of the best way to write a song, and that's to listen, and, you know, listen to things and people around you,
Hmm.
as well as, you know, your own experiences. But if you take, you know, you get that one little line from somebody else and then you incorporate it into a song about your experiences, that makes it so much more.
100%. And it's funny because some songs like that song, this girl was just joking. She's like, "Woo, do that, you're gonna whiskey me away." Like she was just joking around, laughing, talking to I guess her husband or something, and it was obviously like in a lovable way.
Mhm.
And originally, when I was writing the song, I was like, "Oh, this could be a cute little like love song," and I was like, "Scratch that." I was like, "I want this to be something a little bit more real." So I decided to discuss, addiction, and that kind of came along with it and like how
Right.
it can ruin a relationship. And it took a completely opposite turn from anything I'm used to writing. And it became this really heavy song, heavy message with just
Right.
a fun sounding instrumentation behind it.
Right, right. And that's the thing when you go in and you watch the video, all of that comes out. At first, you're thinking, well, it's just a line somebody heard in the bar. And then
Hmm.
as you watch the video, the truth kind of comes out as to what everything was about and how it's what direction the song is shooting for to explain,
Right.
like the addiction and what it does to people, you know.
Right. And that was the thing because it wasn't a stereotypical idea I'd had. So I was worried that not many people, I didn't know how many people would be able to connect to it in a way. But I love hearing stories when people tell me like they can connect. And there were so many, not just women, there were men, women reaching out, just saying like, wow, like I got this from that song. And I know that's not necessarily what it's about, but it just reminded me of this scenario. Or it was directly pinpointed to what the song was written for. And I think it's interesting how people interpret songs. And I thought it was very interesting how people interpreted this song specifically.
Hmm. And that's the cool thing on the interpretation you're talking about, because people can interpret it in so many different ways. It can be, it can be either one of the storylines that we discussed. It could be a kind of a breakup song. It could also be which I know is not really, now later on it's more, your forte, but before it wasn't. But
Yeah.
or if you listen to the words, you can see it being that kind of thing. The addiction is what pushed me away.
Yeah.
And I think it was very well crafted. The wording I think is very good. I think, just
Thank
the
you.
line and the whole thing is good. Um, what is what's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure. I have so many. And people ask me these all the time, and I'm like, gosh, I don't know. Like, because there's so many different things. Like, yeah, I mean, of course, I love watching like Disney movies on my couch on a Saturday, but like, that's not a true guilty pleasure. So I gotta like pick my favorite out of all those. Well, I mean, yeah, that'd probably be number one. My guilty pleasure. I don't have a specific. I probably okay. Probably my guilty pleasure would be because I did mention Disney. I'll go with that. You know how on like Disney Channel you can do the sing-alongs and you can like make a whole great. I make that a whole thing. Like my guilty pleasure is watching a Disney movie and learning the dances and singing to it. And it sounds stupid, but it is a lot of fun. That's probably my guilty pleasure. I because I've got so many, but that one is I do it all the time. It's like such a stress reliever. Like, are you sad? Go watch The Little Mermaid, or or like go watch her get her feet. Like, it's so I don't know. That is it's probably between that or trying to bake, even though I can't bake. I bake out of a box. Yeah, one of the two.
And when you say bake out of the box, is it like you take a cake mix and put it in and you bake it that way, or you like me and it's like if I'm baking brownies, they are little Debbie's.
Little Debbie. No, it's so this my family would still laugh at this story because I like the only thing I can bake is like the cookie dough, like like in the little balls, and that is even tricky. Like since I moved out is when I started learning that a little bit. But one of my mom's birthdays, I thought I'm gonna bake her a cake. So I got a box cake, obviously, and I
Right.
mix it. I get it all ready, and I'm so excited. Kind of forgot it was in the oven, but it was still good enough. So I get it out, pull it up, and I immediately put the icing on it. Well, the number one rule for baking, don't put icing on it till it's cooled. So it
Right.
seeped through. The cake was destroyed. It was like all crumbs because it was dry. And from that point on, I was like, you know what? I'm never baking for anybody but myself again because I still get made fun of for that. I'm not chef.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that's a great story.
Oh, it's still this day because I was like, Mom, I baked you a cake, and I lifted the foil, and she was like, Oh, thank you. I think she tried so hard, just like, thank you, and I'm like, it's ruined. The chocolate icing had seeped through. It was awful.
I did my best, and she goes, "Honey, it's okay."
She kept saying, thank you. It's the thought that counts. She's like, why'd you put the icing on? And I was like, well, I didn't know how it worked. I didn't read the box. They just said mix 2 eggs and some water and you're good. It didn't say don't put on icing till cool.
Right.
I needed full instructions.
It's all their fault. They left that off.
Yeah, they left that off. I'm gonna call Duncan Hines really quick. I gotta work with
Right.
him. Yeah.
Start a class action suit because they didn't tell me not to put the icing on. They
Now
ruined
they
it.
tell me to let it cool.
Right.
It probably
So-
says a fine plant.
What was it that led you? Because I mean, you're looking to go into Nashville,
Mhm.
and Nashville has Belmont, which is a major, music school.
Mm-hmm.
You chose to go to MTSU,
Yeah.
and you're majoring, which, fine. There's nothing wrong with MTSU. I mean, Chris Young went there.
Yeah.
And a few others. I can't remember all of them, but I know he's an alumnus of there.
Harding
What
is-
led you to MTSU over like Belmont?
So I get this question a lot because I did apply for Belmont and I got accepted to Belmont. But I'm going for music business and a minor in marketing. And it was around COVID time was my junior year going into my senior year of high school. And that summer we took a drive, my mom, my brothers and I, and we took a drive down here to Tennessee and we went to a few different colleges, but Belmont and MTSU. My brother had mentioned MTSU. My older brother, he went to school at Cumberland University and wrestled. So he went to school there. He's like, hey, like I've heard it's a public school. And he's like, if you want to check it out. And it was something about, I drove through Belmont's campus and it's beautiful campus, gorgeous campus. Drove through, I did the visits, and something about it just wasn't really clicking for me. And I grew up in a very wide, like an open town. I grew up in a very, just very relaxed environment. And when I went into Belmont, as beautiful of the campus it was and how great education you can get there. When I went to MTSU, I drove through the campus and it was so open and there was so much space and there were still so many opportunities there. And somewhere in between Belmont and Middle Tennessee, it wasn't even a question. It was like so weird. We pulled in and I got out of the car and I was like, I really want to go here. Like, I was like, I don't know what it is, but I just like the environment. I don't feel crowded because moving to Nashville, I was the only one that I knew. Like I was going by myself. It was just me. I knew a couple girls here, but I knew a couple musicians here that I just met. But as far as people my age, I was the only one I knew. And I had to go in and I had to do it myself and meet new people. And I felt that MTSU was going to be the greatest spot for that. As much as cool as Belmont is, and as much as I still love that campus to the day, and still love that community, I think MTSU just didn't fit.
Right. And it's, again, like I said, it's not a bad college. They do offer a lot of music oriented thing, in their curriculum over the years. I think they've kind of beat that up because they're in Murfreesboro. So you're just 30 minutes from Nashville, 45
about 30 minutes. And like Hillary Scott from Lady Antebellum, Lady A, she came here. Hardy came here, Chris Young. There's a big group of them. And it is a public school. So, there's differences in private and public schools and what you can have and what you can't have. And I grew up in a public school, so I kind of wanted to go to a public college.
Right. Not to mention cost is always better too in a public.
Oh yeah, that definitely, my parents were very much like wherever, like they are such supportive and they were like, whatever you think is best going to suit you, but I don't know. Belmont Bill looked a little thick for my liking.
What is, like the difference between being in Murfreesboro and being in Cynthiana and being in and Evansville, because Cynthiana is really close to Evansville, right?
Yes, it's about 25 minutes from it. It's actually, Cynthiana is probably to the east side of Evansville is probably the equivalent Murfreesboro is to Nashville, maybe a little shorter. But so if we're limiting it to Evansville, then I'd say it's similar. Murfreesboro is a lot bigger. I do like the fact that I don't have to drive 20 minutes to go to a Walmart. It's 3 minutes down the road. But it's a completely, as far as Evansville goes, certain sides of Evansville, it's similar as far as the community you see and things like that. But if we're relating it to Cynthiana, Indiana, and Murfreesboro, total opposites. Cynthiana has about, I think we looked it up and they said it was like population 600 now, 500, 600. And like here it is crazy. It's constantly expanding and it's very diverse and it's got a lot more to do, a lot more to see. Right. And so complete opposite, completely new environment, but I was here for it. I love that.
Right. Do you gig around Murfreesboro a lot? Because I know you do a lot of shows.
I do gig at a couple places. I do have a standard gig at Hank's Honky Tonk, which is in Murfreesboro. It's for people that are familiar with Murfreesboro, it's off Memorial. But it's so funny. I love this dive bar. It is connected to a Kroger. So it's like Kroger, Hank's 2 doors down, Honey Baked Tamarind, or a nail salon, and then Hank's. And so there's 2 of them. And Hank's is this little, it's actually where I filmed my music video.
Okay.
The bar that you see, that's Hank's. And I play the first Wednesday of every month there. So a lot of my shows, I do normally lean more towards Nashville, but that's a place in Murfreesboro that I'd love to play.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the one dive bar that is just your it place, right?
As far as Murfreesboro goes, I do have another one that I'm absolutely obsessed with, but that's in Illinois. And it's a little town called Harville, Illinois. I don't know if you've ever been there. But this town, it's a little bar called Midway. And it is, I kid you not, like you play there, it's tiny, but they have a big patio. So we play there about once a year. And there's not that many people in the town. It's smaller probably than Cynthiana. I'm impressed they have a bar there because it's probably smaller than Cynthiana. And they literally, that's the spot that people go to hang out. And they have bands there all the time, come in and play, drive in. And there can either be, I don't care if there's 10 people in the audience or if there's their whole town population of maybe 200. They are having the time of their life. And because I love my hometown bars and I love them. They're so much fun and they helped me grow.
Right.
But man, Harville, Illinois is a hoot. It's, the owners are so nice and gosh, they're a good time. It reminds me of kind of like the Hanks feel, you know. There's regulars there that, you know, they know me now, and there's regulars and people come out for the show. They hear I'm coming in and they come out and they're so supportive of music. And they're hilarious. They're a good time.
I'm big on the dive bars. I like going into those and just hanging out, and I try to get out and listen to as much music as possible because that's just me. That's what I do. But I just, you know, the dive bars are so much fun, you know, and you get to see people of all sorts at those things. I mean,
yeah, I love back home. We've got like our local, and they call it the watering holes because it was like I don't know the whole story behind it. Somebody told me about it once. I wrote a song about it, so I know it somewhere in my brain, but not right. But all these little dive bars and little taverns, and they're locally owned, and I love those local owned dive bars. I love playing in those types of places because that's where you find people who are just there to have a good time. They're not sitting there trying to be a rowdy crowd or trying to be a super chill crowd. They're just there to have fun. They don't care. They're gonna relax, and those are always a good time.
Right. And those, like I said, those little dive bars, you've got everybody from the banker to the town drunk in there. I mean, you know,
yeah,
in between.
Oh yeah, and they're hilarious.
Yes, they are.
They always have some really great insight. They're a meeting of the minds for sure.
Yeah, they could tell the banker exactly what he needs to make more money or make the money easier to be accessible, you know.
Oh yeah. You can learn a lot in a dive bar. There's a song title. I'm gonna write that one down.
Write that down.
I'm writing that down right now. Nobody else gets it but me.
There you go. Get that thing freaking copyrighted, just the title.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's really good. I look forward to hearing that one. I'm not even going to call a word for a third or a third for a word because you were on the show, you know. that was like our big joke this weekend. We came up with a bunch of, you get people together and different artists and stuff, and you're standing around or sitting around talking, and somebody will throw out some of the guy, ooh, that's a song. It's like, yep, third for a word. It's like that only works in Nashville.
No, really.
So, but so what are your plans right now? I know you got a lot of stuff going on. I know you got several things coming up, show wise and stuff like that. I'll pass that along to folks.
Mm-hmm.
You want to find out more about Kenna? There's her. So that's your social media handle.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can go to your social media is. Go to her social media, and then you can go to the website. But social media is what's driving these record labels to find people now. So we, I'm not going to get in on that subject because of different things, but
right.
Go check her out, because I think you're going to be very, very pleased with what you find out. Check her out on Spotify. The streaming platforms, you're handling all the streaming platforms, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So she's on the Spotify's and iTunes, and there's a couple others out there.
Google Play, Amazon Music, all that. It's Kenna Elpers on everything.
Okay. So go check her out. And if you haven't checked out the video for her Whiskeyed Me Away, you need to go check that out. Now, you were just writing it as the song. You weren't playing a part in that as like the girl that got whiskeyed away.
Nope. I was like that third party viewer kind of type deal,
Okay.
Like that was kind of what the video was meant to entail as well, seeing it from an outsider's perspective and maybe reminiscing on old memories of things that have happened to you. But third party person in that.
Right. It's a great video, though. It really is. So y'all need to go check that out. All right. So go do that. And Anna, thanks for coming on. It's I've enjoyed sitting here talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Anytime. I love talking all things music. I wouldn't shut up for hours if people didn't have a clock.
I wouldn't either. I'm the same way. I am the same way. I get to talking to artists and stuff. And I try to make it more of a conversation than it just me asking you a bunch of questions.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. That's the fun part of it, though, because recently my whole mindset has kind of been like, talk as long as you want to talk, live in the present, enjoy each moment, and that's why I love doing interviews like this, is because you get to live in the moment and just go with the flow wherever it takes you. So I've had a great time talking with you today.
I've had a wonderful time myself. I really appreciate it. And again, if you want to check Hannah out, go to Kenna. Gosh, I don't know why I keep saying Hannah.
It's okay. I get Hannah, Jenna. I get other names I can't say online. I get a lot of them.
I'm one of those. You can call me anything you want as long as you call me in time for dinner.
Yeah, I'm using that. I'm using the one.
There you go. That could be another song title. Call me in time for dinner.
Call me in time for dinner. No kidding. That one I'd have to give you a third word.
Word for third, a third for word on that one. Yeah. So go check Kenna out. You've been such a joy to talk to. You're such a sweetheart. I really appreciate your time and everything. And so I'll be back Thursday night with another artist. We'll do another interview. We'll talk to somebody else, another country star that, maybe you don't know them yet. And they're a star of tomorrow, Kenna could be the next big thing. You never know. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Absolutely. Yeah. So go check her out, and then we'll see you back on Thursday night. All right. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see you on Thursday.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow b4Nashville on all social media and listen wherever you get your podcast. Tune in again for another country star of tomorrow on b4Nashville with George Davis. I'm Kevin Casey on behalf of Worldwide Pants. Have a great night.